something beeped. That means that must be a notification. Yeah, it's showing live now.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Northern Perspective After Dark. Hopefully, everyone can see us okay. And we're trying to get a little fancier here, folks. So we tried it with the new intro and everything like that, and took us a couple of extra minutes, but I think we're okay. So thanks everybody for joining. It's really nice to have you here. It's also nice to have one of our members and early subscribers. His name is, well, we'll just call him CK, Construction Kronies. And he's a special guest that we've been talking with for a while because he has some special insights into the construction business and therefore the housing crisis. I'm going to save all of the details of who he is, what he knows, and even how he came by our channel and why he wanted to chat about it to him. So without further ado, Construction Kronies, over to you.
All right. Hey, excellent. Let's good show, guys. Let's give it up for Cipher and Fox for putting together a decent show here. But no, you guys are doing fantastic. But I like I was saying, I got some insight into this whole construction industry and what directly is responsible for this housing crisis. And it's not what everyone thinks it is. So at least I don't think so. I really don't think a lot of people really know what the core issues are. But when I came across your channel, like I was saying, things have been happening with our government that is making business extremely difficult for myself and inside this country. And I do live in Alberta, so it's better. It's a little bit better out there, I think, than some other provinces. But once I'm getting hugely involved in politics over the past few years, basically from the start of Bill C-10 when that was first introduced, that's what really got me involved a lot. But as far as construction goes, and I see Girl Grew out there, I know that was funny. You were making me laugh there about the eaves trough, and then Stacy, hello, and my beautiful wife's in the chat there, Courtney, love you. But sister says, anyways. So we've been on a couple week vacation here with the kids, and so I think we're tired and need a couple of days off when we get back. But let's talk about this housing crisis. First of all, if anyone has any questions, please ask. No problem at all. I think. Oh, I gotta make sure I have that Discord channel open as well, eh? But I think there's a lot of technical stuff going around right now about this crisis when it regards to interest rates and like affordability and all that. And the affordability issues is a big issue. And I wish I could say I was optimistic it's going to get better and like anytime soon. But it's not. I think it's going to take a long time for us to turn this around. Canada, I don't know, when I was a kid, even say 30 years ago in high school or less probably, but a lot of people went into the trades, whether it was cooking or like electrical or automotive or whatever. We were like a resource country, and we used to build things here, right? We used to make things. But over the last few decades, it's we've been churning out like white collar students, white collar people, right? We're not really making things here anymore. We've changed into a buyer society. We buy things now. We don't make them, right? And that's affected the labor for construction. Okay, we're short almost 250,000 workers across the country to keep up with the total demand, residential and commercial. We're short of 250,000 workers right now, and we're dropping. Like even the build rate is they want to basically double how many houses are being built right now, but it's absolutely impossible. Like it will not happen. You gotta. Right now, we're actually decreasing month over month by 23%, with massive retirements from the boomers are all retiring out. immigration, it's not the answer. It might be able to help, right? But it's not the answer, especially because only, I mean, 20% of our immigration is like reunification, whatever visas, and the other 80% is asylum and refugee seekers. So it's like, how do you guarantee any of them to work in construction or the trades of any kind, right? You can't. And even if you do bring people in specifically for that, how do you put checks and balances in place to make sure they stay working in trades or do what they say they're going to do, right? Like, it's almost unconstitutional to bring someone here and force them to work in a job, right? Too, I would say it could be against human rights.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, we need to incentivize it. That's the thing, and unfortunately, with the decline in labor, and turning out of all this white collar people, is we've also have a very corrupt industry right from the very beginning, anyways. From but now what Canada's becomes like the housing market's like a big Ponzi scheme, right? And it's just been inflated, and there's all this paperwork and bureaucracy involved, and it's like one of the major markets in Canada. It's almost the only one in the country where you can get rich off doing anymore. Everything else is, like I was saying, we don't make anything here, right? So
well, and the only catch
we need
is
to turn that around.
In order to make money in the real estate market now, you already have to have that capital initially. Yes. And it used to be, get in when you can, but the problem is now people can't get in. Just to dovetail off some of the things that you're saying.
Yes.
So here's an interesting graph. It's housing completions versus population growth. And what staggered me when viewing this is the fact that we were building more homes in the 70s than we did all the last decade up to now. And there's one there is one time. Let me go to this other graph here. Ratio of housing completions to population growth. See that spike at the end, everybody? That's probably what the Liberals will point to and say, we had a really great year in 2020 and 2021. Well, I wonder why. Because they were completing houses in 2020, 2021, but nobody was allowed in the country because of COVID. So, and you look at this trend line.
Oh, that's right.
This dotted line, and over the last 50 years, look at that. It is an overall decline in the number of houses built in Canada, which doesn't make sense because if you think about it, you should have a larger workforce, more funds, more capital, and obviously more of a need to build houses. So why would you not be building more houses? And what seems to have happened, to your point, is housing has become just a get-rich-all from the bureaucrats to the builders, to the foreign investors. And when it comes down to the average Canadian, if you didn't get in 10 years ago, it's going to be enormously hard to actually get in to the real estate market if you don't have a huge amount of money. Like I bought a condo 12 years ago, 13 years ago, just to get in. And I'm glad I did, because if I didn't, we would not have the home that we have now. And who knows how long we're going to have this home, versus when our mortgage renews in a year or two. So it's something else. It really, really is. And it all comes down to the amount of people we have versus the amount of houses we have. So you either have to shut down immigration or significantly curtail it, or find a way to build a whole bunch of new homes. But that's just solving the supply and demand portion of it. There's the pricing of it, which in COVID, demand drove up the prices because of the lack of supply. Everybody that was in a high densely populated area was trying to move out to less populated areas. So you saw everyone trying to get out of Toronto. I don't know who was buying those, by the way. But again, maybe it's just because people are on the lookout for any home, no matter where it is, because they want to own a home. So that's just some observations I've had.
Question for
Yeah, I think everybody was.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yes.
Go ahead, please go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that everybody, I think most people want a home, right? And start a family and own a home. And there's a um, lot of stuff going on when it comes to like debt, and we're like we have so much more debt like outside of our mortgage now. I think the average person is $22,000 in debt outside of their mortgage. It's crazy. We were lucky when we bought. We got in just at the cusp, right? Like if we didn't buy when we did, we would have been totally like we would have been screwed. Like we would have been renters forever probably. But yeah, we had and it wasn't easy. It took a lot of money for a down payment, and it was like it was not easy to get a mortgage. Whereas like our counterparts in the States, it's like almost anyone can get a mortgage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that was all supposed to change after the 2008 crash. But apparently it didn't. And if you're interested in learning a little bit more about that, we actually saw a movie. I don't remember if it was on Netflix or if it was on one of the other streaming platforms, but I believe it was called Margin Call, and it was a really interesting lead up to the housing crisis. Or the housing crash of 2008. And it goes over, I think it's like 24 hours of where everything was fine. And then they laid off, I think, this one manager who was actually figuring out that it was going to happen. And then and then it started to happen when somebody looked at his data and they panicked and tried to get him to come back in. And he said no. So what they ended up doing is sending up over some big boys to his home to bring him in, just to pay him to sit in their office so he wouldn't go to the media or tell anybody else. So a couple of notable stars are in it.
Christian Bale, I think.
Well, Christian Bale was that was the other one. That was The Big Short.
Big Short, right?
This is a different one, and it was quite well done. I think I can't remember if Kevin Spacey or one of the other guys was in there, but very good movie. It really gives you a feel of the tension, and also really the lack of taking it seriously from the top of these banks, because they knew that they were too big to fail, at least most of them. So good one to watch and understand. Get those likes up, everybody. We have 76 viewers, 46 likes. Got to get that going to
hey, let's go.
So
with the like, sorry, I did see a question from Grogu about the trades, and we literally are suffering across every trade. There's we need everybody in every trade. There's a lot of there's this the problem with the cost as well, is we got all these engineers and architects and
the university
like
jobs.
office like estimators and project managers and construction managers, and like, you know, they all have trucks and they all have offices, and there's all this cost, right, overhead now. And there's like more office staff than they have boots on the ground. And I'm sorry, but boots on the ground is what gets things built, right? So not only like are the drawings are suffering too, like they're getting lower and lower quality of drawings and instructions. Like the contract documents themselves are like getting fatter and fatter in the specifications, right? But it's just getting so inflated. It's just like, and like the levels of bureaucracy and it's not that the municipalities are not, it's not that they're not approving projects fast enough, because they are. That's not the problem. The problem is that they're getting flooded with with projects that are never going to be built. And then after a project is approved, there's no timeline that project has to be built in after it's approved either. So what the big companies are doing, the big developers, is they're just flooding them with applications, and the municipalities, they're just overworked. Like they're doing all this work that is meaningless. You know what I mean? There needs to be, and this is the thing nobody's really talking about, right? Like, I mean, Pierre's kind of like on, like he is. That's the whole building apartments next to transit. That's a great idea, but that's just like, still, who's going to build them? Okay, like who's going to build them? That's not the root of the problem here.
So
the
my
problem
question,
is we need to incentivize. Yep.
Sorry, I was going to say, you see
Yes.
this on the front lines. Do you think that people are not going into trades because we as a society, like, we're getting soft? Trades, it's hard work.
Yes.
You got to lug heavy stuff around. It's like 10, 12-hour days
Yes, 100%.
out in the elements. Do you think we're just getting too soft, and that's why people aren't going into trades?
Yes, I think is a part of it. It's rare. Like I don't, like, I have a policy of not to hire anybody, right? Like my crew, we're tight, we're small crew, and we've cut the middlemen out. We just go in and do our thing, and we're making good money because we don't have any like overhead, and we just do the work ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the new kids are soft, right? Like I have my 16-year-old son. He's finally starting to work for me, and he's doing a great job. But that's the thing. Like they have to have role models, and I don't know if it's there any like it used to be, right? Like I had good male role models in my life, and I try to be a good male role model in my two sons. I have 2 sons and 2 daughters, and my son, I told him, I said, son, you could go any university anywhere you want in the world, study whatever you want. It's just, you do whatever you want. And he's like, Dad, I want to be an electrician. I want to do an apprenticeship. Right. And I was like, what? I was like, that's the coolest thing ever, man. I was like, that's a smart decision. Like, I'm sorry, but like the liberals are smart. Like they play the long game, right? Like they know exactly what they're doing when they're sending kids through high school to another government institution, university, college, right? Like they've been playing this long game since the 90s, sending all the kids to university and ignoring the trades, and that's the thing. Like now it's just like everyone's educated, but there's no jobs, right?
Well, and that's it. And
we need tradesmen. We need tradespeople.
That is what I was going to say was going to be my answer. From the time I was in elementary school all the way up through high school, through post-secondary, the only thing that you heard was, what university are you going to? There was no talk about anything trades related. So why are there nobody in the trades now? Well, it's because all the boomers are retiring.
That's exactly why.
Exactly like you said. And there's nobody to replace them because all of the people that would have normally run their apprenticeship and come up to kind of take their place, they're all standing in line at university, and then they're being promised a 6-figure job by the time that they exit university as they, navigate their gender studies program. And then when they exit university, they are very confused as to where their paycheck is, because there is a oversaturation and hyper competition for these roles that you need university skills for. And surprise, surprise, it is, I don't recall what the percentage is, but it is very high. It's something like 50% of people that graduate university do not work in a field related to what they took. And it's because there's no jobs there.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Like I studied business. I went to college and then a little bit of university, and I just know, like, I came out of it in a lot of debt, and never had credit in my life because of it, and it was a lot of debt, and I paid it off eventually. And but it's funny. Like I ended up in the trades, right? And I've been in the trades since I was 15, though. Like I started in the trades and worked all work. That's how I paid for everything, like school and all that. But it's just amazing to me that I still stayed in the trades. I mean, the business part was good. I took business. That was smart because it helps me now, right? But I just couldn't imagine guys taking political science or something, or philosophy, or what are you gonna do with that? Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
but
yeah. And there's
the nice thing about the trades is if you work and you get paid, you kind of always have something. As long as you have tools, you can always get paid, right? And my best advice is, to guys who want to explore other things, is you can take night school, you can pay for courses and take this and that. Like, the degree doesn't really do anything anymore. It's all about experience. Like, people want to see your work ethic, your production, right?
Actually,
like,
that's a really good
I
point.
think action is more than paper now.
CK, because just to touch on that before I go to this question,
Sure.
we were told, and I'm sure all of these other kids are told, is it doesn't matter what your degree is in, just as long as you have a degree. And it didn't really make sense at the time, but once you've been around for a couple decades after post-secondary, you start to understand what they were talking about. They don't care if you don't have a job when you get out. What they care about is that they get that funding in to the universities, and the university tuition costs have been skyrocketing for the past 30, 40 years. Way above inflation.
Unreal how much.
And it doesn't make any sense. So now you have a society of these students that go through university, they pay all of this money, they have all of this debt, and then they come out of university and they have absolutely no way to pay off that debt, and the government is now collecting back all of that in interest through the different different loans that you can get. And want to go to the one question, and we'll go to Fox first, and then you, CK. It's from Daphne Devine.
Sure.
She says, "Where are the men when it comes to these jobs? Where are the men?" So Fox.
Well, I get that, but and you're right in a sense that, like, where's the strong people, right? Like, but one of the biggest issues with the trades is we're lacking women, man. Like, only 2% of our workforce is women. 2%. Name any other industry that only women take up only 2% of it.
STEM,
like,
oil rig workers, ditch diggers, bricklayers.
And women are great. Absolutely, yes.
Because that stuff it's all heavy and it's all hard work. Okay, like, I can't lift more than probably 40 pounds, and I'm not like unfit.
Yeah, but
it's
there's
hard,
lots of Sure, it's tough. Yeah, it is. But there's also guys, like, we're all types of sizes and shapes too, right? Like, I don't know. I just with construction, everyone needs to take, like, to pace themselves and lift their own weight. And as long as you're being productive, like, it's not about how much you can lift or how much like, I think it should be more. It's unfortunate it's not as attractive of a place to work, like, for women as much, and I think if we change that, that would be huge too. That would be a huge game changer. We could, right? Like, there's good companies, like, or good organizations like Women Building Futures and stuff, and the girls that come out of there are awesome, right? And I got my cousin, she's an electrician, and there's like, electrician, I don't think you have to carry heavy stuff or whatever.
What about like those big spools of wire, like the really big ones?
Yeah, I mean, like, trades like drywalling and stuff like that, that is a little bit tougher,
Well, I think it comes down to
I still think
general choice and interest, right? It just comes down to like, for example, men make up somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 10% of all teachers. Right? Because it's just, we don't choose to do that. Psychologists, nurses, there's just all of these professions where, men, we like things and we like to work with things in general, right? So that's why you
Oh,
get all
absolutely,
these
yeah.
guys like there's and there's nothing for a guy. All the guys in the chat and CK, you will absolutely agree with this statement. There is nothing, absolutely nothing like the feeling when you finish building something. You stand back,
Absolutely.
you look at it, and you're like, it's like Tom Hanks in Castaway when he's looking
Yep.
at the fire. He's like, look what I have created.
Yeah.
It is just
So good, yeah.
so
Yeah.
satisfying, and it's just because you've made a thing. And I think that's what it really comes down to. So unfortunately, I think that it is going to be what it is. But we need to incentivize the trades. And here's the thing. As
Yeah.
you probably would agree with this, the people in the trades have been screaming this from the rooftops for the last 15 years that you need to start getting people in the trades.
More.
Yeah. And because they knew that that they were going to retire. They're like, look, I'm done. I'm done in the next 10, 15, 20 years. So you better get somebody to replace me and stop all these kids going to university. You can get paid pretty good being electricians. You can get pretty good, get paid pretty good being plumbers, being all of these different things. So let me fire off a couple of comments and questions here. So another comment from Daphne. Back in the day, men used to build homes that they bought from Sears. Krusty Canuck, generally going down the road of men's issues, lack of role models, etc., in terms of the reason why people aren't going into these industries. Yeah, well, when your role model is a guy trying to address what your pronouns are, that's not going to be a really good incentive to get into the. Go ahead, Fox.
I think fatherlessness is a huge problem in our society, and it's one that's not really addressed or talked about.
That's a really good point, because there's no dads that are teaching their kids, this is how you lay drywall, this is how you pour concrete, this is how you run an electrical line. And if they don't even know how to do that from the beginning, they're going to be too intimidated to even try and learn. So they're just going to go the safe route and sit in a classroom.
But even that, we have a 50% divorce rate in this country. When you've got kids usually going with
I think
mom,
so, yeah.
Yeah, it's high. When you've got kids who are usually going with mom because mom usually gets custody, mom's not teaching them, how to fish wires through a wall, how to build a shed, how to, do all these different things that maybe dad would be teaching or maybe grandpa would be teaching. Again, women, we don't gravitate towards these things, so we don't tend to teach our children these things.
And
that's right.
And another comment from Daphne related to what you said before, and we were talking about tuition. It's a really good point. People could skip the education, learn the trade, and more importantly, skip the debt. But that's the problem, Daphne, because Trudeau does not want you without debt.
The interesting thing here in Ontario, I'm not sure if it's been implemented yet or if it's on the way. We were speaking with our MPP previously, and she had mentioned it. But if you go into a trade, like I guess you have to register as an apprentice. If you're a registered apprentice and go into a trade, you can get your high school diploma without doing grade 12 as long as you're in that trade.
Sure.
Which I think is fantastic. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. But a lot of people really push back against it. It's like, no, grade 12, you have to go to school. You're not allowed to do anything except go to school. So some people are really hesitant to change.
Just saw the comment about Construction Kronies mic volume, so I tried to make that adjustment. Hopefully that will... don't touch anything, CK. Don't touch it.
Okay.
So I've turned you down a bit, so that should probably address that. Let us know if everyone's good with that.
Apparently they've taken shop classes out of a lot of high schools, and that's crazy. Yeah, like they need to put shop in class back in school, and I think we'd see a little bit more of like diversity in the people wanting to take it nowadays than we did 50 years ago for sure. But it would be mostly men, I'm sure. But we need that in school, right? And we need to incentivize somehow not incentivize, but support. We need to have support for companies who hire apprentices, because 80 to 90% of the learning that they do is on site, right? So somebody's teaching them, and that company is paying them an hourly wage while they learn, right? And I think we need like maybe some of that big university funding to go to companies that hire apprenticeships.
Well, and here's another way to look at this. I see. So I work a lot with technology, and one of the things that we see coming, and I'm sure everyone has heard about this, is more sophisticated systems like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all of this stuff, software automation, all of this stuff. Here's the interesting thing. And this will be my prediction. So it's August 13th, 2023. Let me know in 10 years, 20 years if I'm right. A lot of the university professions are going to disappear because they're going to be replaced with technology. The main difference between today and 20 years from now is the trades won't change that much. You still need the people to wire in everything. You still need the people to build stuff. Yes, they are trying to do stuff with 3D printing and all of that. But come on, there's only so many practical applications for that. And you can't 3D print a wood
there's
stuff.
All kinds of crazy technology. Like the automation and like the robotics, it's incredible. They got drone swarms. They got all this crazy stuff. But it's not like the most practical one actually in operation is it's called the mule, and it's a bricklayer. It's a robot that lays bricks. It's great, but you still got to mount it and load it and all that. And it doesn't replace people. All it does is help the company get that job done faster, so they can get the next one quicker. It doesn't replace people. Like,
but what's the point of that when there's the permit can't get through quickly, right? So it's
well, yeah. So permits are like I was saying, like I feel like the obviously any government office they just run so slow. It's crazy, right? Like they need to start rewiring that whole thing, and like I say, rewarding performance and it has to be a performance-based system. It's just not efficient this way, and it's such a waste of money and time, and it's just
It's the unions, though, right? The government unions, they protect whoever's been there the longest.
Yeah, absolutely,
who works the hardest.
The unions are pretty tough. I find like the unions though too themselves have switched sides. Like they seem to be like not so much for the workers anymore, but more
for the union people managing them that don't actually work.
They definitely won't give up power.
Yeah, and that's what we've seen just kind of with that big strike, and just kind of like from the outside looking in. It seems to us like the people at the top of the union want like absolute control, and they don't care what happens to the people at the bottom.
No, there was a recent
that's right.
There was a recent union negotiation at a government agency, and just like all the other agencies, this particular union, I was told they wanted somewhere in the neighborhood of like a 40% increase over 4 years or something ridiculous like that. And their counterparts went back to them and said, if we did that, we would have to shut down the agency. And the union's response is, well, that's your problem, isn't it? Like, so they don't care. They legit do not care.
They don't know.
And the problem is that you have, and I don't agree with this at all, especially in the government union. You have people that work as vice presidents for the Public Service Alliance of Canada. And in a lot of these other, I would say, unions that are just, belong to one company, like in the private sector, your president or vice president is also a worker. Like they may work in the shop, or they may work in the office, or whatever it is. But in the government, there's paid people to be vice presidents of the union, and literally they do nothing else but union work, and which involves basically nothing. And they're the ones standing up and saying, rah, rah, we're fighting for our workers' rights. Like, you're not even one of the workers. What the hell are you talking about? So, anyway, that's a completely separate issue because...
unions are definitely... that's a whole episode.
Yeah, exactly. But couple.
They're necessary. I feel like both the private and the unions are necessary. They play a role, and yeah, that's. It's nice that the private sector allows people who because the unions are kind of family, whatever, right? But the nice thing about the private sector is it gives people outsiders opportunity to actually build cool stuff, like myself.
So here's a
I tried to get to
significant
the
question.
unions.
Yeah. And CK, you can answer this first, and I'll let Fox go second if she has an answer, and I'll go third. It's a complicated one. Get ready. Do you think that housing prices will drop eventually, CK?
I don't think for a while. I really don't think so. I don't see it happening. It's just that we're never going to reach the affordability target. It's just impossible. No matter what anyone says, we can't do it. And it's just, yeah, these guys got a hold on the industry. Okay. And they seem to kind of like it where it is, like things aren't going to change quick enough. I mean, maybe in a long time, yeah, but I would expect your wages to catch up to the prices first.
Fox?
Really, if you want my honest opinion.
I don't know how it's going to decrease without people like losing massive amounts of money. And I don't mean like investors, I mean just your average family. We know so many people personally who bought at the height of the pandemic. So just for numbers' sake, say they bought a house at the height of the pandemic and they paid $1 million. Now, if it becomes quote unquote affordable, say it's $500,000 and it's just been chopped in half. So now they still owe that $1 million mortgage, but now their house is worth half of that. So even if they sell, they're going to be in the hole $500,000. So I don't know how houses will become affordable without a whole bunch of just like regular middle class people getting financially decimated like that.
Yeah, so especially in the Canadian economy, and in a lot of Western economies, financial analysts usually say that you can judge an economy based on how the housing market is doing. So I don't think you could say that in COVID. That was an anomaly. But if people are buying, usually that means your economy is doing well because people have money and they're willing to put it down. And that usually means that interest rates are also relatively low, which means inflation is under control and everything is good, right? Now, I've been hearing from people that I know and seeing comments on the internet for about 10 years now. And they're saying, well, I'm saving my money for when the bubble pops. And I don't think they really understand what the ramifications of that would be. First off, there's a lot more safeguards in the Canadian system, not in the US, but in the Canadian system that were implemented after the 2008 crash. And so there's a lot of mechanisms that would prevent that from happening. And that's the only way prices go down, folks, is if a major financial event were to happen. And if that happened, we are all in 10 times more trouble than we are now. That means everybody's getting laid off. That means there's no work. And it would just not be a good place to be in. Now, that may come to fruition in the next year and a bit. So, although I just said, the housing bubble may, probably won't pop. Here's the thing. I don't think anyone expected interest rates to go this high. And the problem is the Liberals keep running at a massive deficit. So the Bank of Canada has to keep raising rates to fight the inflation based on all the money printing. The other thing is that if this is something I didn't know and call it naive, and maybe you didn't know this either, but I didn't know this until a few years ago. I didn't actually know what the process was of actually getting a mortgage for a house. I naively believed that you went to the bank and said, hey, I need to borrow $300,000 for a mortgage. And I thought the bank said, well, all right, we might be able to do that. And Bill, the guy you're talking to, phones up his partner. Hey, Jane, we need to pull out $300,000 of our money to give to Cipher here because he wants to buy a house. And Jane says, yeah, we have that $300,000. No problem. Sign the paperwork. Off it goes. And then the bank gives you $300,000 of their money, and then they charge your interest to pay it back. That's what I naively thought. But then I started learning about the central banking system. And then I learned what actually blew my mind. I had to really sit on it for a couple of weeks. So for the people that don't know, when you go to the bank and you ask for a mortgage or a loan or anything, anytime you're borrowing money, what happens is that the bank actually doesn't loan you any money. They do not loan you a single dollar. What happens is they go to the Bank of Canada and say, hey, I need $300,000 of new money that didn't exist before. And the Bank of Canada says, here you go. And then the bank then takes that and then gives it to you. And then you have to pay them interest. So that that mortgage and that money that you use for that mortgage did not exist prior to you buying that home. And what does that mean? Well, that means that every time you buy a home, that also contributes to inflation because that's printing money that didn't exist before, right? So it's this really screwed up system that is actually destined to crash one day. And they keep doing these complicated financial calculations and moves and all this stuff to prolong that. But eventually the system mathematically will collapse. It's just a matter of when that happens. So the problem is when these people can't pay these loans back and that money is already in the economy, like what happens, right? That money is there. They can't pay it back. They declare bankruptcy. So what happens, right? Anyway, so in
it's
order
kind of
for
what's hitting China right now.
Yeah,
That's hitting China hard right now. Yeah, where people can't pay their mortgages and the economy is suffering. Yeah.
but to your point, CK, I think the only realistic way, unfortunately, that prices go down in price is not that they go down. The only hope is that prices stagnate, or at least the growth goes back to 1% to 2% per year, which is healthy, and that wages catch up, and that you can actually get to the point where you can realistically save for a down payment again and realistically pay a mortgage again. That's the only way, sustainably, that housing prices will be able to become affordable again, is that inflation and the wages, they actually overtake the housing market, which is what's supposed to happen, and so people can actually afford a house.
It's quite funny to me. It's quite hilarious, actually, how you got all these like so-called specialists and experts talking, and they got all this fancy numbers and talking about this and that. When really, all we need to do is get houses built. We need to train people to build them. That's simple, real answer. Like, there's all kinds of factors affecting cost and stuff with material, the supply chain, and all this stuff, right? But at the end of the day, the prices won't go down because the interest rates will slow the market down a bit, but it's not gonna stop that demand. Like we got the lowest number of housing units per thousand in all the G7 countries, right? Like,
well, and our houses are
we got all this
46%
land.
more expensive than the U.S. homes. Like it's mind-boggling.
And then yes, that's right. Like what are we at? I think we're like close to $800,000 on average, across the country. Country average.
So I think it's actually
it's like 760,000 or something like that.
I no, it's I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 9.
Are you talking for a single family home?
Yeah, I think in BC, yeah, single family home is like 900,000. I think the Canadian median though is around 760,000 right now. But in Ontario, I think is maybe a little bit higher too. But yeah, that's crazy though. Like who like I mean that to me is insane. And you guys like you're not getting the quality of product you did either 50
No,
years ago either. You know what I
no.
mean? Like you're getting cheap, like cheap everything. You're not even get painted ceilings anymore. You get stucco, right? Like
Right?
you know, it's cheap, the smallest trims possible and all that. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like
because
you're
everything
getting
else is an
a shell.
option, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you
exactly.
can
Yeah.
upgrade. Yeah.
And CK, you're
Yeah,
right. It's
yeah.
$760,600 is the MLS benchmark price for all of Canada, and that was July 19th of 2023. So yeah, and that's the average, folks. Average. That's so high for the average.
Yeah, and we're also going to build the lowest number of houses this year than probably ever in history. Like we're going to only build just over 200,000 houses this year.
Which is ridiculous.
It's like we were building almost 300,000, and then this past year it just 23% drop down, right? And it's because the mass retirings,
Yeah.
and losing workers, right? But
And
it's so crazy to me, like when I talk to other business owners who own like restaurants, like my folks too, like my dad's a developer. He builds houses, but he builds one at a time, two or three maybe, you know, at a time. But you know, he also had restaurants and stuff. And the biggest problem is always manpower. It's always manpower. Yeah, we need to find a way to give workers more money and protect them better, and yeah, like just lower the overhead, right? Got to lower the cost of overhead, and we got to tighten up the permits, the the applications and stuff like that. Like there has to be something in place, like don't apply unless you're can build within say 90 days or something fair, I don't know, after approval, right? Don't even apply unless.
yeah, and there should be penalties if
we
you
also
don't complete it on time.
Yeah, we need to also set limits on what types of applications can go in. Like we have to say, okay, we already got it. We need condos or we need single family homes. We need, you know, like we have to put caps and limits on the types of buildings as well that can go in. Like we just have to tighten that up. And like the municipalities, like I was saying, it's not the approval process. They're approving jobs. It's just that they're not getting built after.
Yeah.
Right. And so they're all this time. And then what about the guys who are willing to build and they're getting held up because the guys who aren't going to build is wasting, you know, it's a mess.
Yeah.
It's a big bureaucratic mess.
Well, and to
right? Like
to a point that I think Fox raised earlier, and I was going to touch on it, but I got sidetracked. But I think Canada is at massive risk for a huge default on mortgages,
Sure.
because especially these, I don't know, I do have sympathy,
it's
but
really
I don't
sad.
have a lot of sympathy for the people that took out a variable mortgage in 2020, 2021, especially 2021. You saw the interest rates going up, but you had to have seen that it like a huge amount of inflation was coming. You had to have seen that was going to come. But these people are now paying, you know, $4,000 a month, $5,000 a month, and they're like, what am I going to do? Wow. Well, you know, there was one case, and I'm sorry, I didn't have any sympathy for these people, where they said, well, my car payment is $500 a month, and our housing payment is $4,000 a month, and my husband's car payment is $500 a month. So to me, I'm looking at that and saying, okay, so you bought 2 brand new cars and you bought a new house. What is wrong with you? Like clearly you are not financially planning, because if you both bought 2 new cars that you have car payments,
it's ridiculous.
Why don't you buy at the time that this was before the used car market went through the roof. Buy a used car if you're going to be buying a new house and you're not really sure what that's going to be.
Hey, that's all I do. I don't own any brand. My wife and we don't own brand new vehicles. We just buy used vehicles because, you know, I don't want payments. I like not having payments. It's great, you know.
I like my money.
We own our house. We did good. Our payments are low, but we have other responsibilities. Like we have 4 kids. Like daycare is crazy expensive. Like I think that's $2,000 a month.
How many
or
kids do you have
more
in
maybe.
daycare? Is it just the one?
Three.
So two
Yeah,
grand for
my
all three kids, or 2 grand a piece?
I think it's like two. No, it's not each. No. It's
Okay.
yeah. I think one's like 7, one's like 8, one's like something. I don't know. They're all
Isn't
different,
Freeland
but yeah,
supposed
I
to
think
be
it's
helping you out
it's
with the
crazy.
child care program, though? Come on.
So there, no, but okay. So yeah, my wife just said we pay 18,000 a year for daycare,
That's still
and
a
then yeah,
lot of money.
yeah, and like groceries now, like holy cow, that's 2,000 a month easy,
Oh, I believe
absolutely,
it.
and oh
Yeah,
yeah,
because the three of us, it's probably around 1,000, and it was like
yeah,
maybe 500 a month, and that would include
yeah.
things like soap,
I
detergent.
think actually it's 2,000 every 2 weeks, to be honest with
Oh
you.
my goodness.
Yeah, because it's almost quadrupled the last 5 years. Eh?
Yeah.
Like we buy the same stuff, but the price is just quadrupled. I think it's been just crazy prices, and
So we had
we're lucky.
a question.
Yeah,
I'm doing this a little bit out of order, but
no
Denver
worries. Yeah,
Charlevoix, thanks for the previous question about the when will housing prices fall. So his question is, how much would you need to make per hour if you had a spouse to save for a house at this current rate? So I'm going to see if I can do the calculations in the background for you. And I'll see if I can come up with that down payment, and I'll be using the $760,000 average for a home. So
yeah.
I'll get back to you later on that.
I think
But
now the average down payment is like around, you need to have around $63,000 to have for a down payment now.
well,
Wow.
it's
Yeah, I
even
think
more
so.
now. So you would
It's
need
crazy.
$76,000 because you would need at least
Yeah,
10%. Um, so
that's wild.
well, here's the thing. So what I'll do is I'll do I'll be conservative, and I'll do a 10-year save plan, which is still ridiculous, but I'll do a 10-year save plan. Switching to this, so I'm not sure if you're too familiar with what's going on in Ontario and the greenbelt construction cronies, but the question
Yeah,
is
I do. I've been following
what's
that.
going on there? The Toronto Sun was reporting that the land that they want to use for that is privately owned, so it's actually not touching the farms. What we have looked into is there's a bunch of the farms that people are screaming about are actually hobby farms, so they're actually not growing food that are
Yeah,
going to the grocery
sure.
stores. But there's also the issue of people are complaining that there's no housing, and um, not sure where your video went. Did you drop, or are you there?
Oh, I think we lost him.
We may have lost him. Oh, we did lose him. All right. Well, we'll see if he gets back. He's not in an area with a great connection. He did tell us that, so hopefully he comes back, and if so, we will bring him right back in. But until we get him back, so as I was saying, there's a lot of people complaining that there's no housing and that we need to build more houses, but they then say, well, you can't build on any land out there. So which is it, people? You need land, yet you don't want them to build on any land.
Yeah, but it seems like these young liberal-leaning voters, they want everybody to live in a condo or an apartment building. Like, you are not allowed to have a single-family home. It's asinine to me, because you can't force people to live in a certain style of home. I mean, young families like us, for example, prefer a single family home or maybe a town home where you've got
There we go.
some land for your family, for your kids to run around, for your pets to run around.
Welcome back.
You can't just shove
Right on.
everyone in a condo.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, it's amazing like how everything is getting closer together and like denser. Like, man, and wow, it's really crazy the change. Like, we have a lot of land. That whole greenbelt thing, I all I know is that it's not going to help. It's not going to do anything. But like, it does seem like some pretty prime real estate. Like they might put some fancy houses on there and make some money. But I don't think it's what's it gonna do? Like, I don't see it helping at all.
Let's see. So that was from Grogu. So thank you for that. A couple comments. Bill Leviel, thanks from perspective for all you guys do. You rock. You are so welcome, Bill. Thank you very much. Here's a question for you. What's the best, this is from JRB, what's the best trade for a 40-year-old military retiree?
Oh man, I would honestly, I would look into like something like electrical, honestly, electrical or um, if plumbing, if you can handle the plumbing part, that's kind of cool. But something maybe technical like welding, even welding's good. Like that, that could get you out on the list and stuff, and at the heights and stuff, that you kind of get that excitement that like for me, I do a lot of structural steel, and it's fun, right? Like you get to do high rises and you work at heights and with cranes and yeah, it is nasty, yeah, but there's something like that, structural steel, or if you, but it's you don't want to be. I would say electrical. I would be the best, no doubt. But we need a lot of electricians. We need everything. So you could pick literally whatever you want. You'll get a job.
Let's see.
But yeah, oh yeah, steel fabricators, exactly. Yeah, like, but that is a shop job. But yeah, no, like something on site, working with equipment even. Um, if you had a few $1,000, you could get your license to drive everything, like excavators and dozers and everything. Oh no, actually, I think it's 7,000 for the whole package. But yeah, last time I checked.
For like an AZ license?
No, so that's for your equipment. So
okay.
Yeah, you get your certification for excavator. There's one for dozers. There's one for pretty much every piece of equipment. There's a separate ticket. But yeah, plumbing. This is the thing. Like guys, plumbers are gonna be like the pimps. Like they're gonna be making so much money. They're gonna be in such high demands. Like they'll be making a lot of money. So yeah, plumbing is a good one to get into right now.
Yeah, I actually have a cousin who's doing a
yeah.
plumbing apprenticeship way up
Smart,
north. I don't
yeah.
even remember where, but yeah, I know he loves it. He's what, 21 years old?
Yeah, that's good. That's right now. Yeah, if I could go back, I probably would have went through. Like I went to a high school. We had shop, and I did advanced shop, like electrical. They call it telecommunications then, but yeah, I did that for 5 years through high school, and I was gonna do it, but an apprenticeship, and I don't know. Somehow I ended up going to college. I don't even know how. I packed a bag. I think I ended up north in Thunder Bay and I decided to go to school. But yeah,
Okay.
the trades are good, always good. Man, we need trades workers, and they're just like the wages are gonna increase all across the board. I'm sure over the next decade. Oh man. Whew. Yeah, we're getting literally people like pay us up front for jobs now. Like we're in such high demand. Like it's crazy, right?
Yeah, I've got a buddy in the
Yeah,
States who makes I think around $70,000 a year US, and he's a
it's
journeyman for
great.
HVAC.
Yeah,
And that was like his starting salary. Like he moved to a different state
yeah.
and started doing HVAC, and then got his journeyman, and they're like, "Oh, here's 70 grand a year."
That's great
Yeah.
money actually, right? Like, especially in the US, like your money goes a lot further down there
Yeah, for sure.
too. But yeah, it's really too bad, guys. Like I wish I had like there was an easy fix, but the worst of it all is there's no politician that's really hitting on the core issues. Like nobody's really talking about what the problem really is, and there's all this gaslighting, and it's like, it's sad because it's like everyone seems content with the way it is, really, because nobody's coming up with any real solutions. Um, yeah, like that's my YouTube channel. I kind of sit back and I scream, and I try to make a fuss about things, but you know one little piece at a time. It's a good fight. So
Well,
um,
we've been talking to a few MPs.
yeah,
We will raise the issue about the labor shortage in the trades with them, and we will start aggressively talking with them about that to see if we can get that pushed up.
That's excellent.
We're inching closer to being able to actually get a Conservative MP on the channel,
Legit,
or two. There's a couple that we're talking to. Won't tell you who they are, just in case they
that's good.
they won't
Don't want to jinx it.
But
Exactly.
it's another way we want to differentiate
awesome.
ourselves from a bunch of the other political channels is that we actually get some of these MPs on and talking about these issues and see what they say. So we're
I find
constantly...
you guys are very easy to watch. So like there's other guys, and one I used to watch before you guys came along, and I don't even watch him anymore because it's hard to get through his videos. But I like how you get right into it. It's really nice how you cover the stories and get the facts out, right?
Well, and that's what we've seen, and it's funny because we initially we were just commenting on what we were seeing, similar to the other channels, but then I don't remember the video it was, but we started getting into really the details, and this is what this means and everything like that. And then we saw some comments that was really cool. Now, a couple comments doesn't make a trend, but we said, well, it's not going to hurt anything. So we started to really get into that. And to your point, that it seemed to really, really interest people, because otherwise people don't know how it works. And we started talking at the dinner table just about the fact that something's wrong in this country when the Canadian citizens don't even know how their own government works. So it's probably a good idea that we do get into this stuff, and so they know. And then once you have that knowledge, then you can actually start to challenge it because you know what you're talking about.
So I just want to interrupt with a comment from Vincent Hogue. It said, "Are you MPs? LOL. Know exactly who Fox is."
Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
I wouldn't get fired by my boss.
You would if he was liberal.
Yeah.
Only if the majority of my constituents were liberals, and if so, I wouldn't be the MP. So there you go. So
no, we are not MPs. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Cipher has political aspirations. I'm content just to be a housewife.
I'm starting to talk to our MP about the process of which to be considered for a Conservative candidate. So,
nice.
So I will keep you all updated on that. And what
would be great,
I will promise is if that seems like a real possibility, maybe then is the
great reveal.
Is the great reveal.
Yeah.
So, and then all of you can move to my riding and then vote for me to make sure I get in.
There we go. Yeah.
You know what? Well, we'll pull what the Chinese government did. I'll bus you all in, and I'll make you write the name of my name on your hand, and then you know who to vote for. So, anyhow, so on the question of what you would have to make per hour. It's a very complicated question because as I started to try to do the calculations, I was able to get, some numbers, but it all depends.
Like how much do you need to save every week to afford a house in a certain amount of time? I think would be more of a better question. People have different spending habits, but.
Well, and that's the thing, and it's how much disposable income do you actually have? And people would say disposable, ha 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 ha. I don't have any disposable income, and
that's right, yes.
So it really all depends.
No matter what, you need to find a way to sock some away. Like no matter what, you got to put something away. Always.
Yeah. But in saying that, here's some free financial advice if you don't know it. And again. I know the demographic of our channel and this type of topic. You probably all already know this, but if you happen to be a young whippersnapper watching this, don't take Trudeau's advice and just spend money on your credit card. Do not do that. If you have any credit card debt at all, save nothing and put it all against that credit card debt because you're being charged 20% interest per year on that, and they take it away every single month. Now, if your credit is good enough, then what you need to do is look at opening up a line of credit. Even if you're not going to use it, open up a line of credit. Now, if you do have a credit card and you do have credit card debt, what you want to do is see if you can get that line of credit and then take that credit card debt and move it over to the line of credit, because your line of credit interest rate is going to be far lower than your credit card. And you can buy yourself 2 months of interest-free debt, because what you can do is keep track of when you're purchasing on your credit card. So if you buy something on the first of the month and you know that your credit card statement is going to come due at the end of the month, you have a whole month to deal with that. So you wait for the last possible second, and then you move that over to your line of credit. And then the interest that you're going to be charged on that is going to be very small for that month, because you've only had that debt or that amount on your line of credit for like a couple of days. So you've actually bought yourself 2 months of debt-free or interest-free debt. So if you don't have a line of credit and you do have credit card debt, see if you can get that done. You will save thousands and thousands of dollars over the long haul.
Yeah, TFSA, yeah, you know what I mean, TFSAs, and even if you can get a dividend visa too, man. My wife and I, we have a system with the dividend visa that it's very good. It works out real nice at the end of the year.
Yeah, for sure.
Those
for
are
sure.
fun.
So let's get back to the comments. Mr. Garner, my daughter is a domestic engineer and is a very difficult job. You keep the I love that title. You keep the home functioning smoothly and happy. And here's the thing. This is the other problem, I think, that we found, especially in the trades over the last 50 years. So when all of the moms were told by feminism that being a mom is a terrible thing and that it is hurting other women's empowerment if you're a stay-at-home mom and you need to get out of the home and into the workforce, guess what happened when all of these women did that? The labor pool increased by a factor of 2, and wages decreased by a factor of 2. So
yeah, it really messed up things. It did. It was quite a shock. So when you have a shock like that, it does mess up the economy quite badly. It's like this immigration policy, like they want to bring in 500,000 immigrants a year, and like,
but they're not building enough houses.
What are you gonna do with them, man? Like, so they're all gonna stay at Olivia Chow's house. I don't know what's going on.
Well,
what do you think?
The refugees are staying in tents in Toronto because there's nowhere else to go. Like, that's horrific.
And that's even if they have tents, right? So
it's crazy. And this is the thing that scares me the most about our immigration is the balance of the quality of immigrants we're bringing in. I work with I guess one would be maybe both refugees. They both over here because one's Russian and one's Ukrainian, right? So they both just don't want to be anywhere over there right now. And these guys are like amazingly tough guys and like super workers, they're great to be there. They work just like, they work like me. We work really well together. What a difference compared to the us, like the people that are brought up in the West, they're really tough guys. So
and it goes back to actually something that you'd said before, because you see these kids coming on the job sites and they're all really soft. Well, why are they really soft? Well, it's because they're all really, I'm sorry to say this, but they're really feminized.
Snowflakes.
They don't have tough masculine skills and fortitude that you get just from the old days of being raised, with discipline in your home. Well,
I think that comes from two things. Number one, which we discussed previously, was fatherlessness. How can you learn to be a man if you don't have a man in your life? And then number 2 is young men, especially online, they're getting bombarded with messages about, toxic masculinity and this and that. And
Well, it's the war on white men is what's going on.
yeah,
there's also there's the problem with social media is it's also there's a lot of like people are showing off like excess and freedom in a sense of
That's
being,
their phantom life that they're showing for all to
yeah,
see.
right, like it's like they're always trying to make you think the grass is greener on the other side of the fence, right? And that's just not the case.
Well, just
It's sad.
look at
sad.
your
Everyone's always looking for the next best thing.
look at your Instagram, look at your feeds. How many pictures of even your friends do you see? And you just look at them and you're saying, you're using filters. Why are you using filters?
Yeah, I know, right? Like you can always tell. It's just so fun,
Yeah,
right?
it's just ridiculous.
I'm just here for the memes.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
back to the question. So, if you wanted to save for a down payment of $76,000, and if you wanted to save that in 5 years, ladies and gentlemen, you would have to put away $300 per week in order to do that. Now, that means you're putting away $1,200 a month in order to do that.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Who the heck has $1,200 a month? Now, the number that Pierre throws out is that it takes 25 years to save for a down payment on average. So let's just see how much that is per week.
I think if we compounded it too, because the older you work, the more you make, right? So, yeah, it might be a little less than 25 years, I would think. But.
Well, so by going on his numbers, he's basically saying that the average Canadian can only put away $240 per month,
And that's not that far off.
Yeah,
No.
things have
First
gotten really
calculation.
bad. I mean, groceries have
Holy
at least
cow.
doubled. Gas is
awful.
going up again.
Yeah, so that number is going to increase, right?
Oh my goodness.
So-
the gas.
And how are you supposed to save when rents are so high? When rents are outpacing mortgage payments, how are
That's
you
why
supposed to do that?
Oh, we couldn't stand paying the rent. It was just out of control. Oh my god, it feels so good not to have to pay rent, eh?
Yeah. Well, because
God.
you're basically just lighting money on fire at that point. So
Exactly. Yeah, I'm just like some people like it, the freedom, but anybody who wants to own a house one day, rent's just awful. It's just supposed to be a stepping stone, right? Like
it's supposed to be.
oh, man.
Yeah.
People are just so greedy, man. And I know things are getting expensive, yes, but there is a huge greed problem. Like you're getting gouged everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and the problem is like these people. I don't understand. I like my money. I don't have much of it, but from what I do have, I like it, and I don't like paying, or rather, I don't like overpaying for things. So I don't understand these people that when these bidding wars were going on, they were overpaying by like $80,000, $100,000, $200,000 for
Yes.
a house. I don't understand. Like, do you not like your money? And second, how the hell do you have that money? Or do you? And you're just trying to get a house and be damned with how much it's going to cost later. You'll deal with it later, and then maybe you'll have to foreclose because you can't afford your payments.
Yeah, but the true price of a house is what you're willing to pay for it, or what someone is willing to pay for it. So if you're willing to pay $1 million and somebody else is willing to pay 1.2, well, then it's worth 1.2.
Well, it's worth that to somebody,
Well,
yes.
Yeah, but you might not be able to sell it for 1.2 though.
No,
like,
because
but
when the
you're
time you
accepting
sell,
loss.
yeah, it's now worth something else because somebody else might only want to pay 800. So
Yeah, you never know. That's right.
Let's see what else we got here. Michelle Holmes, kids have been told they can be anything they want. However, they have not been told about the work that is involved to get it. 100% 100%. Actually, and that's mostly all of these kids on the left, because all you hear from them is, we have to go after, the richest people in the country and redistribute their wealth. They need to pay their fair share, and heads of companies shouldn't be making so many times the wages of. How about this? How about you understand that in order to make what they make, you have to have literally no life. And you have to be exhausted all the time. You have to be working 80 to 90 hours a week, every single week, for your entire life until you die. That's what you need to be doing. And again, right. it was a really good point talking about social media and what's on there, because people, all they see is these people in nice suits and fancy cars. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. That fancy car is probably the only thing that they can enjoy, because they're constantly working.
It's true.
And, not that I'm saying that it is right or wrong, because you can't just make a blanket statement that CEOs are making too much. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But the thing is, they take on more risk than the other person. And I'm talking about risk in terms of that organization. But this is a whole other episode as well that we could get into. But
absolutely, yeah.
But to the point, all you have is these people that they get out of university, and the first thing they start to do is not get to work. They start complaining.
Yeah.
They start complaining why they don't have a paycheck and why they're not getting paid enough, and they were promised this and they were promised that. Shut up. Rub your hands together, go get a job, and start working your ass off. And eventually, you will be able to get that paycheck. And if you just say, well, hard work doesn't pay anymore.
It's amazing.
Then change jobs. Then change jobs.
I know what it's like to work and have, when you're working overtime and then you hit that next tax, bracket or whatever, and you get taxed all your money instead. It's crazy, like the tax system, right? It doesn't incentivize hard work, like our friend Pierre says. But you're right. Like, a lot of kids are not willing to put the time in. Like, they don't know, like it takes a lot of dedication. Like, I'm so grateful to have the parents I did, right? To see them working and build a successful business. And for myself, like I literally had to build my businesses around my family, so I had time to be with them, because it's 7 days a week, it's nonstop, right? And you gotta work.
The other thing is again, going back to these people that make, $500,000 a year, even the MPs. So in speaking to the MPs that we do, they don't have a lot of time. So what they have to do essentially all the time is they're traveling. Our MP today, he had 6 different events today. So he had to drive to one city, then he had to drive to 2 other cities, and then back to the original city, and then back. So he's driving literally all over the province every day, and he doesn't get to see his family, he doesn't get to see his kid, he doesn't get to see his wife. And then when Parliament's in session, it's not like that's over, because now he has to drive to Ottawa every week. He's in Ottawa all week, then he drives back on the weekends. And
he has to rent an apartment in Ottawa. They're not housed for free when they're there.
Right. And then on the weekends, he has to meet with his constituents. So
it's busy.
There's no time, right? No. So yes, you get paid a lot more, but there's a price for that. And the price is you have no life. So would you rather live to work, or would you rather work to live?
Yes. Yeah.
That's the choice. And a lot of people, and most people, would rather work to live, or at least that's the dream.
Sure.
Because the question is
nice.
Like, when you get to the end of your life and you look back, do you just want to remember working your whole life and having no family, no social life, no friends, and all you have is your work? Maybe. And that's okay. But
that's your choice.
But that's the price, right? So that's the interesting, choice that people need to acknowledge. And again, it's conservatives typically understand this, because conservatives understand that the first thing you need to do in life is work hard, and the earlier you start working hard, the earlier you're going to make it easier for yourself.
Absolutely, yes.
Not standing, downtown Toronto with no clothes on and screaming about oppression, rather than getting to work. That's not going to put money in your pocket. So, and social media, my God, it has destroyed people.
It's crazy. It's been terrible for civilization. It's awful.
Yeah.
Oh man. I don't know. I don't even know what the answer would be like. I don't even know how you would begin to fix that. That's above my pay grade.
Another comment from Vincent Hogue. My grandfather used to make $30,000 per year. I calculated that would need to earn roughly $300,000 to have the same ratio earnings and expenses. Nice job, Liberals. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, the wages have not kept up. That's for sure. They have not. Yeah.
No, and they need to figure that out.
Well,
and
a lot of it has to do with women coming into the workplace, because again, if you double the number of workers, you're going to have the value of labor.
Right, but we are where we are, and we're not going to fire all the women.
No, I think that's leveled out now. But when it first over I would say the 70s and 80s, it was changing. Like, it was such a shock to the economy. But now everybody's understaffed. We need as many people as possible in every sector. I think every business needs people. I don't know how the unemployment rate's above 5%. They don't pay them properly.
If you pay people better, then they'll be lining up for the jobs.
Absolutely, yes. People need to get paid better. That's plain and simple. Yeah, you're right. It's crazy to me. Yeah, I don't know how other businesses work and stuff, but I do know in construction, I've been able to. We have a system that works really well for everybody involved, and I'm making great money, and my clients are happy, and everyone's getting built, and it's just basically taking all that inflation in the middle, those estimators and coordinators and project managers and their expensive trucks and their offices and all those computers and all the whatever, right? Like all those guys that don't do anything, take them out of the equation, and it's just us who build, and we price, estimate, order everything, right? We do everything, and it's just working well. Like, we're making really good money, and I can't complain, and my partners aren't complaining. That the people we work for are happy because they're actually saving money, and they're getting a good product, and it's quick. We're quick, and that's what we need. We need to just tighten it up. Like, we got to get all these useless positions out of the way. Both in the trades, in the government, and everything.
It's tough though.
Sure is, absolutely.
Let's talk about the about the cost of food, because this is going to be directly relevant here. So let's say Conservatives get their majority, which was last projected at 176 seats. So let's keep it going, get to 180, and
I believe they will.
Pierre gets in and repeals the carbon tax bills. Great. Okay. Yeah. So all of that money is now off of gas. So in theory, that cost to get to the grocery store and on the shelf should drop, right? Therefore, the average person is going to say, okay, so the cost of food should drop. Now, I'm going to put myself in the selfish board position of that grocery store and say, well, why would we need to drop the price? That's now extra profit for us.
That's right.
So this is going to be the problem. And this is where the Conservatives are going to have to sit down and think about this, because
there'll be margin for competitiveness, though, right? Like that also creates opportunity, I think. And if you want to stay afloat, you got to play ball, right? People aren't going to shop at the higher price place when the same product is next door for a little bit cheaper, right?
Well, the good news is that we do know that government does have the ability to make an impact on these organizations, because we saw it in COVID
Sure, yeah.
when at
Yeah,
least I think Ford did, and I think some of the other premiers
that's right.
made their insurance companies drop their rates because people weren't essentially primary drivers anymore. Everyone was staying at home. The only people that were driving all over the place was essentially the essential services workers. So
Mm-hmm.
the good news is that there is some precedent that
It
government does have
is.
the ability to influence this. So I'm hoping that the conservatives publicly demand that the price of food go down.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I like that's why I like Pierre. I mean, he's an articulate guy, and I think I believe he's on our side. Like I really think he's come from somewhere where a lot of us can relate. And he's not a Laurentian elite. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's the thing. When we were talking to David Sweet out in New Brunswick, who is a former MP, no skin in the game, doesn't care.
Hmm.
He's just happy running his trailer park now.
Sure.
And we asked him, because he was an MP for 16 years, so he got to know Pierre and the rest of them. So we asked him, what's Pierre really like? Like, we see how he is on
Yeah.
cameras. What is he really like? And Fox, I'll let you answer that one.
So he said he's a great dad and husband, and
Awesome.
you can actually see, because that was one of the questions we asked him on camera, so I don't want to quote him directly, but pretty much he said that he's a good person and really believes in what he's doing. And that's what we got
Yeah.
when we actually got to meet Pierre, is that he has like a no BS approach, very common sense, and that
Yep.
to me at least, it seems that he's genuine. We had gotten the chance to meet him after probably 2 hours of him standing there, and that was after giving the speech at the rally. So he must have been tired, but he was more than happy to stand there and meet people and talk.
It felt
to
like we
people.
were the first person in line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And
That's excellent.
So basically, to sum it up, the way he is off camera is like he is on camera. And, did we lose him again? Oh no.
Well, do you get you get like the mail, like the letters and stuff? Like, I think he's quite clever with like even his wife wrote a letter, that one in the mailers or whatever.
Yep.
And,
Yeah, we get the
I just
conservative
love
mail.
that. Yeah, I know it is what it is, but I find it it's well done, it's well put together. So
Yeah, because is your MP out in Alberta conservative, or you unfortunately one
Oh,
of the
you're in
NDP
BC, right?
ridings?
they're NDP.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
God, no.
Sounds like you should run for office, Kronies. Get on it.
Yeah, no doubt. So Matt Genero is our provincial MP, and he's conservative actually. But
That's
our local, whatever you call him, he's the guy who won our district is NDP, I think. I forget his name. But yeah, it's crazy how I don't even understand it. I don't get it one bit. How Edmonton votes NDP is beyond me. I have no idea how that happens. Um, Everywhere you go in Alberta is conservative, and everybody I know is conservative. I don't know anyone who's voting for these NDP guys, but
Well,
it's like
they should find out who the voters are and who they vote for, and then deport them.
yeah, it's crazy. I have no idea how they keep winning.
Or at least just
YouTube,
send them
I'm
to
kidding.
BC
Please
or
don't cancel
something.
this video.
Yeah. No, just send them to BC. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy to me, man. I don't get it. And even Calgary, they were starting to make some way down there, eh? But that last provincial election was excellent, though. That went exactly how we wanted it to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was trying to find my polling map here.
That was terrifying. I couldn't believe Notley was putting up people were still willing to vote for her. I'm like, what? You guys are crazy.
People are still willing to vote for Justin Trudeau. So there you go.
Yeah, I know that. It just, to me, it's completely just blind, naive. Like people don't know, or they just don't care. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't even know.
So it looks like there is still a central riding. That let me bring up this polling map and see what we can do here. Give me a second, folks.
Yeah, we're Riverbend, I think. Riverbend in Edmonton. I think it's called Riverbend.
James Metcher, NDP has no damn principles. You got that right.
Hey, like I used to support NDP way back when like in the Jack Layton days. And I also lived in Toronto then too. I'm from here. I'm from Toronto originally, but I've been at West for 20 years now. But yeah, after he had passed away, I moved out West. I quickly I was pre NDP. I was yeah, there you go. So if you Edmonton is that
the orange
suburbs,
one is
right?
NDP.
Yeah. So I don't know how this map is split up, but is that orange Edmonton, and then the rest would be like the suburbs, like St. Albert and Leduc and Nisku and
I
stuff?
think so. This is just the Edmonton
Yeah.
area, so it looks like the because it's rep by pop, right? So everything in the center is going to be essentially your high density Edmonton regions, and then everywhere around it is around the city.
Crazy, yeah. They don't have they have nobody. Like they just I don't know. That party is in trouble.
Yeah. So Saskatoon.
Mm-hmm.
Let me.
I would love for her to go to take Jagmeet's position, because Notley, that would just make things easier for us.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Let me. I'll bring up the whole map here.
Oranges, and she's right, Daphne. You're right. Orange is the rich people, and that's what makes no sense to me. Because wouldn't you? I would think that they would vote conservative, but it's weird. Like now, the rich people are like. When I was a kid, I always thought that conservatives were more aligned with like big business and stuff and rich people, right? And
I think that's like the prevailing theory now as well, and that's why people don't vote conservative, because they think it's for big business. And I think maybe they were in the 80s, but they're not really that way anymore.
Yeah, no, and that's the Liberal Party, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's just wow.
Well, it's just interesting. Like you look at all of Western, like look at even BC. BC is mostly conservative, except for where they're. We're not going to say the D word because YouTube will get angry at us, but where they're doling out all of the free substances.
Right, yeah.
That seems to be all liberal. But Saskatoon, all conservative. Regina, all conservative. Calgary, except for one area, all conservative. They should find out who lives in that area and go have a chat with them.
Yes, yeah, but yeah, like she was saying, like where that orange downtown part of Edmonton there, that is literally where called the Grove, or is it Grove, or what the hell was it called? Anyways, it's where the rich people live. Like, there's a lot of wealth out there, and it's crazy. It's.
And for those wondering, so the different shades of blue, since this is a polling map, the shades of blue represent the degree of certainty at which those ridings would be voting for that particular party. So lighter shades of blue means there's a little less certainty than the darker shades. Darker shades are essentially, it's guaranteed that that's going to be a conservative riding.
Right now, anyways.
Like I'll bring up the map again. So you see northern Manitoba, yeah. So they are darn sure that is actually going to be, liberal. Nunavut is pretty much guaranteed to be NDP. Whereas if you look at anywhere that's pink, that's where the Liberals need to be concerned, especially really light pink, like in Winnipeg, that northwestern section in Winnipeg there. They need to be concerned about that. And where they really need to be concerned is here's the GTA. This looks very different now.
Holy.
So if you virtually all of the GTA was liberal. Now there's a bunch of conservative ridings in there, and they're getting surrounded. Niagara used to have some liberal ridings, or at least it was polling liberal. It's all conservative now.
Yeah, St. Catharines, I believe, is liberal, if I'm not mistaken. Like, it's liberal right now, and it looks blue on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always thought like Rosedale, like those like Forest Hill areas, those were always conservative more, I thought.
They used to be. And I think there's like a culture shift that's gone on where
it's the rich guys' kids now.
Yeah, it seemed like almost as virtuous to be
exactly.
woke.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's right. My goodness. I'm in Ontario now. I've been visiting for 2 weeks, and it's funny, like, to picking up the literature, just like a weekly, like, or monthly news magazine or something, and reading like the editorials or the opinion pieces, and the writing is so progressive, like, and like just far out, right? Like man, these guys are so out of touch, like.
Well, it's funny. There was this one piece. I think it was it CTV or something. Anyway, there's this one piece going after what Pierre was saying in one of his first speeches, and he repeated the figure at an event last night, where he was talking about, the single mother who makes $60,000 a year, and the person was like, Pierre's so out of touch, and people were kind of confused as to why he said that, and he doesn't understand what people make. Well, the single mom. He's not talking about a single mom having one job making $60,000 a year. He's talking about the single mom that's having to go out and work 2 to 3 jobs to actually make that, to survive. So, like,
and that single mom's a hero. Like, wow, right? Like, there's this. I really have respect for people who get up and go to work. I'm sorry, like I really do. And
the single moms that do that, I 100% agree with you. Yeah. The people I don't have respect for are the people that don't get up for work, and they're expecting, the 4 dads that had their kids to give them child support, and then they don't give that money to their kids instead of going out busting their ass and working, and then putting that money away so their kids can one day buy a house.
Right? Yeah, exactly. I know, right? It's crazy. Like, they made it so easy to. I know how socialism works. It looks, and I know it's just, wow, man. Don't people want to work? Like, don't they want to have some feeling of like self, like, worth or value?
No, because work is effort.
And I mean, like, taking care of kids at home too. That's a job too, right? Like, don't get working is work, right?
Well. Here's the other benefit of having people buy homes. They realize that, oh crap, I have to work now. I can't just sit in my mom's basement and do nothing.
Right? Yeah. No, you. If you want to buy a home now, yeah. This is sad with the way it's going, and it's crushing people's dreams of ever owning. So now they're not even trying, right? Like,
yeah, that's the other problem. That
apathy is going to be a big problem. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's really sad.
So. All right, folks. Yeah, it's 11:13 p.m.
Oh, wow.
So time flies when you're actually on the stream. So
it does.
As I'm sure you know. Let's just check and see if there's any other comments here. So we have a couple of them. Jeremy Browning, what are your thoughts on Ukraine and Russia? We'll deal with that on another episode if you don't mind, Jeremy, since we want to focus on the housing crisis and economy. Daphne, again, people don't dedicate themselves to anything anymore. A spouse, a job, a career, nothing. They feel the world owes them happiness everywhere. No work on their part required. I completely agree, Daphne.
Yeah,
you see that in the divorce rate. You see that in everything. It's a disposable generation.
Yeah, 100%.
And we got to be careful. Like with all the, like I'm saying, like with these any politician right now is talking about housing, is we're not, they're throwing out numbers that aren't realistic, like, oh yeah, we're gonna build 1 million homes or what, this and that. Like, we need to build 5.3 million homes, I think, and then by 2030 to fix the affordability crisis. And we're only on pace to build maybe just over 2 million of those right now. So it's just we need the people to work, and immigration is not going to fix it. Automation isn't going to fix it. Like all this technology, there's no technology that'll fix this. The only thing that'll fix it is boots on the ground, people with tools in the hands and putting the houses together. That's what's going to fix it.
So here's a question for you, Chris.
Yeah.
One of Pierre's, I guess, pieces of his platform is that he says they're going to sell off 15% of government buildings and then build high density homes on that. Do you think that's achievable?
I do, in the sense that, like, as long as we don't have to if they don't have to tear the buildings down and the structure is there, that could help speed some things up, right? Like that could help. Like a lot, like, might not be a crazy amount of good it'll do, but it will get people into houses for sure. As long as, but if you're just tearing a building down and starting from scratch, it's no different than where we are. The only thing that could do is give you a little bit of a head start, with the building being already done, just going to be repurposed. And it's hard to say too, like how much work needs to go into it as well. But I would say, that demoing and clean and doing a good demo and clean out, you want to hire good crews, not like, you don't want to hire unions to do that. You want it done fast, right?
Yeah.
So you got to get it done quick, and it could help a little bit. I mean, it's not a bad idea, but I don't know. I don't know all the.
There's a lot of factors in there.
Yeah, gotcha.
But yeah. Like I'm saying, we need 5.3 million homes built over the next 6 years, right? That's crazy. Especially this year, we're going to build 210,000 homes.
Yeah. We need to increase our building rate by it's something in the neighborhood of 400%.
And they're going to try to add what are they going to try to add 3 more million people to the population through immigration by then too?
Oh, and they have to be carbon neutral homes too. Don't forget. So,
right? Like
we'll talk about that another day. All right, getting back to the comments. So Michelle Holmes, blah blahs will not drop the price, and they have almost a monopoly in Canada. We need more grocers to start up in Canada. Trudeau is a comedy, says. Remember, food prices will take at least 6 months to drop. Warehouses need to get rid of high-priced goods before lowering prices. That's a good point. They're going to have to take that into account for what they actually bought the initial goods for, and that's not gonna impact the fresh goods, but it is going to definitely impact the goods with a high shelf life. Grogu, WTF, that reminds me, everyone is focused so much on Trudeau that Jughead is flying under the radar. We need to bring attention to him as well. He has to go. Yeah. Chris Craig, what is sad is how many places have boarded up and the landlords are not forced to fix and rent out. They're complaining of a housing shortage. Just my street alone, 4 houses boarded up out of 15 houses. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
they're trying to sell the property so they can build duplexes on them.
Yeah, and make even more money out of the rent. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, Chris, thank you very much for coming on. This was a great conversation. I learned a lot. I know Vox did too. And I'm pretty sure all the viewers learned a lot. And to those of you that are watching this after the fact, or even if you're watching now, you get to go ahead and rewind and see if you missed anything. So thank you very much for coming on, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun. Maybe we could do it again sometime, and maybe next time things will be in better shape, hopefully.
Absolutely. We'll be talking about all of the...
Shout out to the chat. It was nice seeing the chat. I was watching the chat here too, so good to see everybody.
Absolutely, and we'll be talking about all the hard workers that you're seeing rolling into your construction sites. So,
right on.
So thanks everybody for joining. If you want to support us, go ahead and share this out. Keep having those conversations. If you would like to financially support us, if you're able and you're not putting away that $300 a week that you would need for 5 years to be able to afford a new home, any denomination is helpful in paying for the tools that we're doing. As you've seen, we're trying to make improvements almost weekly on the channel. We've had a lot of great comments on the new intro. Thank goodness we didn't actually have to pay anyone to do that. So, despite that, thank you, Krusty, for that recommendation of that gentleman. Maybe we'll use them for something else. And eventually we're going to be probably switching out our mics. These mics are great, but they cause logistical problems because they're USB mics and not analog mics. So it creates some fun challenges sometimes. So so if you would like to financially support us, go ahead and throw up a super chat or a super thanks on this video. If not, just share the video out. It's just as good. And and please get other people to A, watch this channel, and B, have those conversations. Make them vote conservative if you can, because it's going to take every single one of us to win this election. We were speaking to some MPs yesterday. I said, "Hey, did you see the abacus polling numbers? They project you guys out of a majority of 176, and the MPs responded this way. We're not looking at the polling numbers. We are just approaching this as if we need to win every single seat, and we're starting from ground zero. So it's a great mentality that the Conservatives are approaching this with. They are not taking any polling lightly at all. They are just going to continue to push for a super majority, as was stated here, and that way they can get all of these fixes in very quickly and move things through the House very quickly to get us back to a country that we can all be proud of again.
Yeah.
And
No, they got a great
MP
team.
Supporter Plus member, you can join us in the Discord after dark for about 30 minutes. The link was posted the other day, and once we see you join the Discord channel, we'll give you the proper permissions to join Cipher and I in the chat. Now, before we go, Chris, where can everybody find you? On social media, on YouTube?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm on mainly on YouTube. Hashtag Kronies. Kronies with a K. So, yeah, you can pretty much find me on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, or anything with hashtag Kronies. But mainly here on YouTube.
Wonderful.
But I appreciate that. Thank you.
And as Daphne pointed out, just a reminder, I actually started the wrong stream tonight, so that was great, but I'm glad I didn't advertise it yet. Next week, August 20th at hopefully 9:30 p.m. sharp, is going to be our Canada is Dying watch party that we have received exclusive permission from Aaron Gunn to stream to everybody.
Yeah.
So
That's excellent.
So join us for that. Should be a lot of fun. We will see about not pausing it unless something really crazy happens, and then we'll pause and we can all react to it together, aside from the few that have watched it. So join us next week for the Canada is Dying watch party. And we look forward to see you there. Otherwise, for the Northern Perspective Plus members, if you are so inclined, we will see you in Discord. If you're not so inclined, thank you for joining, and have a wonderful, wonderful week, everybody. And we got some good videos on the deck that we're looking to put out, probably starting on Monday night. So stay tuned for those.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Night, guys.